Hello everybody, Zaid from Z Security here, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to hack any device using a link. Whether it's a phone, Android, iOS, a tablet, a computer, it really doesn't matter as long as this device has a web browser. Now before we start, if you want to support me and if you want me to make more videos guys, please share the video with your contacts, like it, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell if you haven't done so already so you get notified every time I push a new video. Now, the method that I'm going to show you is going to work on any device, like I said, and it actually allows you to do so many things once the target clicks on the malicious link that we're going to create. So you're going to be able to find their location, you're going to be able to run any kind of JavaScript on their browser, you're going to be able to steal login information by showing them a fake login page for a social network, for example. You're going to be able to show them fake updates, and then if they install the updates, you'll gain full remote control over their device. So it can be used to do so many things. And we're actually going to rely on a tool that I covered in many of my courses and that is covered all over the internet. But we're going to use it and deploy it in a completely different method than what's covered, and you'll see how efficient it is. The tool is called Beef, which is short for the Browser Exploitation Framework. We're going to have it hosted on the cloud so that it's accessible to everybody on the internet using a normal domain name with HTTPS enabled and the lock icon displayed beside the link. So all of that is going to increase user trust and make them less suspicious. And on top of that, we're going to have Beef's hook injected within a clone of a real website that the target user trusts, again, to make the website look less suspicious. So the end result is going to look like any other website that the target is interested in. It's going to use HTTPS and it's going to look very believable. And we're going to do all of that in minutes thanks to Linode. The first thing that you'll need to do is to purchase a domain name. This is going to be the name that we're going to be sending to the target so that when they load it, they get our fake malicious website. So you can use the search bar in here to search for the available names. And once you find an available name that is appropriate to the website that you're trying to clone, you can purchase it by adding it to cart and going through the purchase process. So it's very simple. It's pretty much identical to purchase anything online. Now I'm not going to go with this purchase process. I actually already have a domain that is called zshacks.org that I use for testing. And this is the domain name that I'm going to use for this video. Once you have a domain name registered in your own name, you want to go ahead to Linode and you want to sign up with them. The sign up process is very simple. That's why I'm not covering it in this video. And you can use the links in the description to get $100 free credit for 60 days. So you won't really need to pay anything for this. Once you register and log in, you're going to get this dashboard, which allows you to create virtual machines on the cloud, or as they call them, Linodes. But before doing that, because we want to link a domain name and use it with Beef, we're going to have to go to our account in here on the top right, and we're going to have to click on the API tokens to create a new API token. This is needed in order to link the domain name with the instance that we're going to create that's going to contain Beef. So we're going to click on create a personal access token. We're going to give it a label. We're just going to say domain Beef. We're going to keep all the permissions the same, and I'm going to click on create token to create it. It's going to give us this code. This is the API token. Make sure you store it somewhere, maybe even in your password manager if you are going to use it in the future. But I'm just going to copy it for now because I'm only going to use it in this video. Once you do that, we're going to say I have saved my keys, and now we can go ahead and create a new virtual machine on the cloud with Beef installed on it. And to do that, we're going to click on create. We're going to click on Linode. This is the page that allows you to create instances on the cloud. So as I said, if you sign up using the link in the description, you're going to get $100 free credit for 60 days, which you can use to play with this. So you can create any other machine that you want, not just the Beef machine. So you can select the operating system from here, you can select the region, and you can select the amount of resources it has using these tabs. And I've actually covered how to use the GPU for Kraken in a previous video, so check it out if that's interested for you. You'll see how you can crack passwords very, very quickly. But that's outside of this lesson. We're going to click on the marketplace, and with this you're going to be able to create a virtual machine on the cloud with a pre-installed application. You can even create a Kali machine on the cloud that will come up with all of the tools that Kali has pre-installed, and you're going to have that on the cloud. Therefore, you're going to be able to use it and have it accessible all over the internet, not just in your own local network, without the need to use tools like ngrok or SSH to make it available. But again, anyway, that's outside of our topic. We're looking to install Beef. So I'm going to look for Beef. And as you can see, they have it in here. So all I have to do is just click it in here, and they're going to create the machine for me on the cloud with Beef pre-installed on it. Now it's asking me to set a password for Beef. And next, it's asking us for the email address for the SSL certificate. This is needed in order to enable HTTPS on the target domain. So I'm just going to type info at the domain name that we just registered, which is zshacks.org. And you want to make sure you click on these advanced options in here in order to set up the domain name with this instance. And the main thing that you want to do in here is set the API token. So this is the token that we copied from the previous step. So I'm just going to click on here and paste it. It's going to ask you for the subdomain where you want Beef to be installed, and I don't want it to be installed on a subdomain, so I'm going to leave that empty. And finally, it's asking us for the domain, and this is the domain that we registered using name.com or any other domain registrar you would pick. Again, in my case, it's zshacks.org, so we're just going to type it in here. We're going to keep the image the same. We're going to select the region where this image is going to be available. So let's say we want it in London, UK. And finally, you can select the machine specifications using this section in here. So I want to keep this as cheap as possible. Therefore, I'm going to click on the shared CPU, and I'm just going to click the smallest available one that they have. So it's only going to cost me $5 per month. And like I said, you can use the links in the description to get $100 free credit for 60 days. So we're going to go down. You can name this label anything you want. I'm going to just keep it. It's called Beef EUS. That's completely fine with me. And we're going to set the root password, which is the password for the user with the highest privileges. And now that is set, we're going to scroll down, we're going to leave everything else the same, and we're just going to click on Create Linode to create this machine. So now Linode is going to automatically create a new virtual machine on the cloud, and it's going to automatically install Beef and enable HTTPS on it. It's already given me the IP of that virtual machine or of my cloud instance, so I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back to my domain settings. So whatever website you signed up with, it should allow you to modify the settings for the domain name that you purchased. In this case, it's zshacks.org. And in here, we want to add an A record so that the name zshacks.org is linked to the IP address of the machine that I just created in here. So that's why we copied the IP and we pasted it here. And that's why we're selecting an A record. Once you do that, make sure you click on Add Record to add it. And now that this is added, it might take a few minutes, sometimes hours, for this domain name to link to this IP address. But anyway, this IP address is still not fully available. Even though it's saying it's running in here, this computer is still not fully functional because, like I said, Linode is going to automatically install Beef on it and configure it to use HTTPS. So that can take a few minutes. And that's why even if you try to log into it now using SSH, you're not going to be able to log in. The best way to check the progress is to actually click in here, Launch Lish Console. And this is basically going to give you terminal access directly to that machine. And as you can see, I'm not able to run any commands because the machine is still starting and installing all of the needed packages, including Beef and including the packages needed to enable HTTPS on Beef. So this process can actually take a bit of time, and even once Beef is installed, enabling HTTPS on it and configuring it to use HTTPS is not that simple anyway. I cover it in my masterclass, and if you've done it in there, you know that it can actually take a bit of time and it is a bit of a tedious process. But thanks to Linode, this is all happening in the background automatically for us. Now, in my opinion, it is very important to learn how to do this manually. That's why I covered how to do all of this manually in the masterclass and in the cloud hacking course. Once you know how to do it manually and you can fix it if it breaks, it's actually really nice to be able to start it this way, literally with a number of clicks. Now I'm gonna pause the video and resume once this finishes installing. Now that the installation is complete, you can say it's telling you that you can control Beef, or you can access Beef's control panel using this link, and Beef's config file can be found in here. So if we copy this and open it up in our web browser, you'll see that we're able to access Beef using HTTPS, using our domain name, and Beef is working as expected. Now we can log into it using the username and the password that we set when we created this machine. And right now, as you can see, we have no online browsers because nobody has loaded the Beef hook page. Now, if you've done any of my courses or if you know anything by Beef, you know that you can hook browsers or hack them by injecting a special JavaScript file in a HTML page. So before we can do that, we need to create a HTML page that we think the target user is interested in. So this is going to be completely open to you depending on your target. For this example, I'm going to create a page that looks identical to my website, zsecurity.org, and I'm going to inject JavaScript's code within this page so that I can send it to the target, and when they load it, Beef's code will be executed in the background, which will basically allow me to control their browser using this control panel right here. So to create a clone of this page, I'm going to go to the file, save page as. We're going to select where we want to save it, and I'm just going to save it in a directory called websites. I'm going to keep the name as is, it doesn't really matter, and I'm going to make sure that it is set to web page HTML only, so I only get a single page. Now you could set this to web page complete, which will download the HTML page along with its images, but then you'll have to SSH into the target and upload everything together. It might be better, but it's more time consuming. I want to keep this video as short as possible, so that's why we're going with this option. We're going to save it. And now if I go to my Finder, to the location where I downloaded it in the website directory, you can see I have the HTML page. And if I double click it just to test it, you can see I'll get an identical page of the target page, which is the zsecurity website. Now, before I upload this to my server, I want to embed Beef's code in it. So I'm going to open it with a text editor, and I'm going to locate the head tag. I'm going to hit the return to go down, and I'm gonna include Beef's code. And we can include it using the script tag and specify the source script using the src. And in here, we're gonna specify the JavaScript file that will hook the target browser to Beef. So that can be found in HTTPS, the domain that you used. So in my case is zshacks.org, port 3000, and it is called hook.js. And we're gonna have to close the script tag when we're done. So all we're doing is we're creating a JavaScript, we're giving it the source file, and the source file is in the same domain that we installed Beef on. And to make sure that this works, you can copy this and just paste it in your browser. And as long as you get this JavaScript code, it means that everything is set up properly. So I'm gonna copy all of this, and then I'm gonna have to access the server that we created in here using my command prompt, so using an application that is called SSH, and it's already given me the command to do so. So I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna open up my terminal, and I'm gonna paste the command that they gave me. I'm gonna hit enter, I'm gonna say yes to trust it. It's asking me for the password. I'm gonna put my password. You're not gonna see it on screen, but it's actually being typed, so don't worry about that. That's just a security feature. So once you type the password, hit enter, and I am in my cloud instance that we just created. So what I want to do right now is modify the file that loads by default when the domain name is accessed using a browser. And to do that, I'm going to use a terminal text editor called Nano, and I'm going to give it the path to the file that I want to modify. And the file that I want to modify is stored in var www certs, and the file name is index.html. So we're basically using a program called Nano to edit a file that is stored in this path, and the file name is index.html. Now this file actually doesn't exist, but if it doesn't exist, then Nano is going to create it for us. So if I hit enter now, you'll see I'll get an empty file, and basically in here I want to put the HTML code for the website that I want to load by default when people go to my domain name, which is zrshacks.org. And the HTML code for that website is in here. So I'm going to copy it, and it already contains the hook code for Beef. So we're just going to come back here. We're going to paste it, Control V, give it a second to paste. And to exit, we're going to press Control X, as you can see in here. It's asking us if we want to save the modified buffer. We're going to type Y to say yes. And it's asking us the file name, and we're going to keep it the same. So I'm just going to hit return. And perfect. Now the file is saved. So now let's just go to Beef, and as you can see, there is no online browsers, but I'm going to go to Firefox and I'm going to load zrshacks.org. And perfect. As you can see, I am getting a website that uses HTTPS, and we see the lock icon beside it. We see a normal domain name that is not suspicious at all because it sounds similar to the target website, which is zsecurity.org. And you can see that the website in here is pretty identical to the original website. The thing is, this website is actually malicious, and it actually contains code that will hack this browser and link it to Beef. And as you can see in Beef in here under online browsers, I can see that I have a new computer. And if I click on this computer, you can see straight away I get a lot of information about this computer, such as the browser that it's using, such as its IP, and this IP can actually be used to get a very good approximation of the location of this device. And like I said, this will work on all devices that have a web browser. So it'll work on phones, on tablets, on Android, on iOS. It really doesn't matter. As long as they have a web browser, this will work on them. So straight away, you're going to be able to get the location of the device using the IP as I showed you previously. So you can just go ahead and look for find IP location, for example, and you're going to get a lot of websites. And once you put the IP in there, you're actually going to get a very good approximation of the location of this person. So we haven't even done any hacking, and we're able to trace and find the location of the target device. Now, if you go on the commands, you're going to see that you have a large number of categories, and each one of them has a large number of commands that can be very useful, and that could allow you to potentially gain full remote access on the target computer. So you have simple things like text to voice, you have things that will get you the geolocation as well. So if you look for geo, you're going to get a lot of plugins that allow you to get the location of the target as well. But we've already seen that. For example, you can also, going back to the social engineering, my favorite category in here, you can see that you can display a fake notification bar, for example. We can select for Firefox, and in here you can tell the target user that there is a additional plugin is needed, or for example an update is needed. You can make this more believable. I'm just doing it real quickly, and put a link to a backdoor in here, and I've showed this in my courses. Once you click on execute, the target user is going to get a notification telling them that they need to install a plugin, or you can tell them that they need to install an update in this fake notification bar in here, for example. There are a number of exploits that will get you remote access if the target is not patched. You could use the pretty theft command, which I really like, that will basically dim the window and ask the user to log in to the social media network that you select from here. You can even set a custom logo for any other social media platforms that are not listed here. But if I click on execute, for example, you'll see the screen in here will dim, and the user is going to be told that their Facebook session timed out, and it's going to ask them to log into Facebook. If they put their username, for example, test@test.com, and the password 123456, and click on log in, if we go back in here and click on the command, you can see we captured the username and the password. So as you can see, there's so many useful commands in here, and the main thing is that you need the target user to not feel suspicious when they load this page. And they're not going to feel suspicious this time because we're loading the page using HTTPS with the lock icon, with a real domain name, with a cloned website that looks very identical to the original website. And that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I publish a new video.